The topic for today's video is debtors and creditors ledgers. Starting off with the debtors ledger, we need to have a ledger where we can show what each person owes to the business. So each person is going to have their own account in the debtors ledger. So it's going to show what individual debtors owe to the business. At the end of every month, you're going to take each debtor's final balance and put their name and the amount that they owe into something called a debtors list. And if you add up the debtors list, you must check that that is the same as the balance of the debtors control account in the general ledger. We will do the general ledger at a later stage. Right, let's look at a worked example and I will show you how easy this is to do. Before we actually start, I need you to remember that debtors are an asset. So if I want to add to what the debtor owes me, I'm going to make use of a debit column. If I want to decrease what the debtor owes me, I'm going to use the credit column. So in this debtors ledger, you're going to obviously record the days that the transactions take place in this column. In this column here, we have to put the name of the source document. In other words, where the transaction was originally recorded. Then obviously your folio will be what journal it comes from. And then I will show you how this balance column works as we go through. So the first transaction then says that the amount owed by Mr. Cole is 16,000 Rand. Okay, if you look at the amount owed by Mr. Cole, 16,000 Rand, we're therefore going to have to record that as a balance. So on the 1st of February, the balance brought down for this debtor is 16,000. Then the next transaction says sold stock on credit to Mr. Cole. If you sell stock on credit, you're going to give the debtor an invoice. So in this column here, you're going to use the name of the document. You then ask yourself, does the debtor owe you more or less? And obviously if you sell on credit, the debtor is going to owe you more. So you're going to put the amount into the plus column. Now to get this balance over here, you're going to take the 16,000 that he owed me to start with, and you're going to add 9,500, and that gives you the 25,500. So what you'll see with this balance is after each transaction, we are going to update it. So if you look at the one on the 7th, some of the stock sold to Mr. Cole was the incorrect stock rather, and thus he returned it. Issued a credit note for 1,200 Rand. So obviously the document here is going to be a credit note. Then ask yourself, if the debtor returns something, does he owe more or less? And obviously if he's returning, he doesn't have to pay so much, so he's going to owe less. So we're going to record that transaction in the minus column. Now the balance is going to be that 25,500 minus 1,200, which gives you 24,300. Then the last one here says Mr. Cole paid 60% of the amount owed on the 1st of February. If he pays money back, if he comes into the business, you're going to give him a receipt. If he does an EFT payment, you're going to use bank statements. Irrespective of how he pays you, obviously the amount he's going to owe is going to decrease. So if you look at the amount owed on the 1st of February and you work out 60% of that, that comes to 9,600, and that is going to be in the minus column because he's paid back. Now the balance is 24,300 minus 9,600, giving him a final balance of 14,700. If you were doing the debtors list, that is the balance you would write next to Mr. Cole's name in the list of all of your debtors. Okay, moving on to creditors ledger, it works exactly the same, except this time we show what we owe to each person that we buy on credit from. If you buy on credit, you're talking about a liability here. So if you want to decrease what we owe, you're going to put in the debit column, it's a minus plus. If we increase, you're going to put in the credit column. So at the end of the creditors ledger, just like the debtors ledger, you'll draw up a creditors list, and that will show the final amounts owed to each creditor that we bought from. And then the total of that list must be the same as the ledger account balance. Alright, let's look at the transactions. The first one on the 1st of February tells you the amount owed to ABC Supplies. So that is your opening balance. That's what we owed them at the beginning of the month. It then says we paid half of the amount owed to ABC Supplies. If you pay back half of the amount that you owe, you're going to need to decrease the amount that you owe. So you're going to put it in the debit column, because for creditors, the debit is the minus column. Your document here would have been bank statement, it would have been recorded in the CPJ, and now can you see you owe him the other half still. So his balance here is the other half of the amount. The next one says received an invoice for stock and stationery purchased from ABC Supplies. If you're purchasing, you're going to receive an invoice here, and if you take the two amounts that you're purchasing, you would get one invoice. So you take 8,500 plus 1,500, and that's where I get 10,000 from. The balance is now going to be 22,500 plus 10,000. That's where I got the 32,500 from. And then the last one, some of the stationery purchase was damaged and was thus returned, and a credit note for 200 Rand was received. Okay, when you receive a credit note from a creditor, you're going to decrease the amount that you actually owe. So that's going to be in the minus column. So the balance is now going to go down to 32,300. Just in terms of this credit note, it's also acceptable for you to write debit note here. Some of the textbooks use debit note, which is fine. I just use credit note because that's actually the document that we receive, and only when we receive the credit note from our creditor do we make an entry in the creditor's ledger. But if you use debit note, it will still be marked correct. Okay, so debtors and creditors ledger, quite easy. A nice simple way to remember which is the plus and which is the minus. Creditors, you got credit here, creditors are plus. The debtors sounds more like debit, so debit is the plus for debtors. And then it's easy enough to decide, do they owe us more, do they owe us less, and you put on the minus side and so on. Most importantly, please, it's the name of the source document that gets recorded in this column. I've seen in the past, people that I teach, they just write Mr. Cole, Mr. Cole, Mr. Cole. It's not that, it's the name of the source document. And if you want to, you can even give that source document a number. But that's not necessary, it's not essential. Okay, when I do the next video with you, I'm going to do general ledger with you. But for now, that's it. Thanks, guys.